If you think emotional suppression makes you strong and invincible, think again. That's not a sign of emotional mastery. That's a sign of self-neglect. You can't confuse emotional suppression and detachment as the same thing as emotional mastery, because it's not the same thing. And if you are living like that, you are seriously limiting yourself, and you're likely failing the people you lead and serve. And I'll tell you why. Hey, I'm Dr. Pamela Seraphine. I've got such an important topic today. So I want to be very clear that emotional suppression and emotional detachment are very valuable skills to have. Hopefully you've already mastered them, especially if you work in a high risk, high stakes, high stress environment. Those are your go-to skills to deal with the task at hand, to thrive in chaos, to deal with difficult situations, without a doubt. But that's only 2 of the 4 skills needed for emotional mastery. If you don't master all 4 skills, you're gonna pay a price for it, because eventually those 2 skills will work against you. And when they do, which they probably have, you're gonna have long-term consequences and you won't even know it's happening to you. So what is emotional mastery? Well, emotional mastery is about developing a deep awareness and the intentional control of your emotions. So not only do you need to be able to suppress, you've got to be able to detach, you've got to be able to process, and you've got to be able to express. Those are 4 seriously valuable skills. You can't just have 2, you got to master 4. And you've got to have the discipline to follow through on those last 2 skills, the processing and the expression of the emotions. You can't just do the other 2. You're gonna, like I said, you're gonna pay a price. It's not worth it. So let's talk about the hidden dangers of just suppression and detachment. And I'm talking about dark emotions like fear and shame and guilt and despair and hopelessness and endless amount of dark emotions you could be experiencing, and you're trying to suppress and detach from because they're too painful to deal with. And like I said, likely you've had to do this because of your job, which is fantastic. That's the way it's supposed to be. However, if you don't have the skills in place to process your emotions and express them in healthy ways at a different time, not in the moment, I'm talking about a later time, that's when you pay the price. And what's going to happen is you're going to have some serious batshit crazy behaviors coming out of nowhere. And you won't know it's you. Your brain's going to be totally fucking with you, and you're going to think you're okay. That this is just the way it is, because your head has detached from your body to survive. And that's where you start thinking you're all stoic and all invincible, because you're not actually feeling anything anymore. You're not feeling your emotions. No, that's not, like I said, that's not mastery, not even close, because that doesn't make you stoic. That's going to make you highly depressed and numb inside, and your soul's gonna feel like it's dying, and you won't know why. And to top it off, you're going to become emotionally unavailable. And you don't think that is going to play a huge impact on your life and the people you serve? Yes. Let's talk about the long-term consequences. Now, I'm sure you're aware that chronic stress or traumatic experiences change the structure, the function, and the connectivity of your brain. We're not guessing at this. This is happening whether you like it or not. Let's just talk about 3 areas. Now, all areas are interconnected, but let's just put on the table 3 for you that might be happening to you without your awareness. For one, we've got the anterior cingulate cortex, which is known as the emotional regulation center. That's going to help you regulate your emotions, become aware of them, and that area can be diminished. Then we've got the insula, that's the interoception center. That is what regulates or makes you aware of, a functioning one makes you aware of your internal states. If you don't have the experience of your internal physical states, your emotions. You can't experience them. You then can't have empathy for others if that area is diminished. And that's going to cause a problem. And then we got the nucleus accumbens, which is part of the limbic system. And yes, it's part of the reward. However, it's a big part of experience positive emotions. You don't get to choose no negative, but you're still going to have the positive emotions. No, it doesn't work like that. Your brain has changed from chronic suppression and detachment. And now you're likely not able to experience positive emotions like, oh, I don't know, fulfillment, fulfillment, achievement, motivation, hope, optimism. Those are important. And over time, that's going to lead to chronic illnesses. It's going to lead to relationship problems. It's going to lead to the downward spiral effect and the death of your soul. So that brings us to the true path towards emotional mastery. What is needed? Well, let's go through all 4 skills. Now, let me emphasize too, that this separates, emotional mastery separates the difference between elite leadership and those that are just trying to survive and guide people and just bullshit their way through leadership. So whether or not you want to call them, 4 steps or 4 skills, doesn't matter to me. Either way, you got to master all 4. So let's start with number 1, detachment. You have to have the ability to detach, step back, be aware of your emotions, and don't let them dictate your actions. That's an absolute must. Number 2, you've got to be able to suppress your emotions. Now, you've probably mastered this one. You've got to be aware of them, right? You've detached, you're aware of them, then you have suppressed them temporarily. That's what's going to help you focus at the task at hand, your priorities. An absolute must skill to have mastered. That leads us to number 3, processing your emotions. You have to process your emotions at a later time. You can't pretend that these 2 steps aren't needed, because you have to process them. And processing your emotions is usually done by some kind of cognitive thought process strategy, right? That's using your mind to train your brain. And you have to be able to process what you have experienced. And that brings us to number 4, which I think is the most important. Well, they're all important, but number 4, you have to be able to express dark emotions. You've got to get that toxic energy out of your body, or it will destroy your body. It will destroy all of you. Hopefully it hasn't already, but you have to be able to express those emotions and the experience that you've gone through. And that doesn't mean it's verbal expression. It doesn't have to be verbal. It has to be an effective, productive, healthy way to express dark emotions and energy. And that means it's body-based. And this has to happen every time you're facing some kind of stress, very difficult experience. It has to happen at a later time. You can't just not express it. And that's likely what you've been taught, that, well, you just suppress it, detach it, everything's going to be fine. No, not even close. Now, there are many ways to release toxicity from your body, from a body-based perspective. Myself, I'm a drummer. I've been a drummer since I was 12 years old. And like me and millions of other people or drummers around the world, we express that energy. We use the drumming as a technique for reducing stress and the expression of complex dark emotions. That's what most musicians do, right? Now, maybe you're not a musician or a drummer, but you have to have some kind of way to get this out of your body, whether you like it or not. It has to be expressed. Now, this isn't the same as just lifting weights, because it has to be intentional. That's why you could still be jacked and be suffering. So I'm not buying that one. You have to be able to intentionally release this. And you cannot pretend that you don't need to do this process, because that's your brain fucking with you. And I can't say this enough. You're gonna pay the price for that. And I personally don't want anyone to suffer like that. So the bottom line is, your ability to excel in life and in leadership is dependent on emotional mastery. And to be clear, emotional mastery is only one of the 5 pillars of neural mastery. But we'll talk about that at another time. And as a leader, your people are counting on you to be the role model, to become the best that you can be, to lead them. They're counting on you. And emotional mastery is a vital step towards leading with excellence. So step up, hone all 4 skills, lead by example, because humanity needs you. And remember, if you master your brain, you master your life. You master your life, you become unstoppable. That's it for today. I'll see you next time.